The first day I entered the industry, 30K has been floating around.
It's always around that range.
9% on a 30K, that's easily about 2,700.
So this is where homeowner will always caught unaware.
You only know what you have in the bank or what you don't have in the bank. That's not the right way to make decision when it comes to renovating.
Yes.
Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of the SIXiDER Show, where we ask tough questions to the designers, merchants and vendors related to the interior design industry in Singapore. And today we have Patrick Yap from Go Design. Go as in G-O Design, not G-O-L-D. So Patrick, where are you going with your design?
Hello everyone, I'm Patrick Yap from Go Design. I'm the director of this company. So as Ashley was asking, where am I going with the design? Is going to all my homeowner house where they actually love our design, the thing that we are doing for them.
I think I like the name because it's actually like 有动感, it's moving, right? But I think sometimes if you read it very quickly, or rather when the words are spaced together, it may look like God design. Is this with intention? Is this something that you all mind, or rather you all plan for it in the design?
Actually, this name was brought up by my wife. Okay, right now my wife is helping me in the business. So basically, because of our faith, so we want to incorporate something and we want to create a go-to design company. Where if you read our tagline, we actually, what we read from the Bible is that we will go the extra mile, for all our homeowners. That's how this name actually came about. Those Christian homeowner, they will say, hey, is this God design? I always tell them that, hey, that's how you're going to interpret it. Whether is it Go design or God design, but it's the go-to design for you. Yes.
I think that's interesting. I guess at the end of the day, the common thread, whether you read it from a religious front or not,
Yes.
is that design is by intent.
Yeah.
That means if you have a problem and you want to create a solution, usually there's an intentional action, and that usually the intentional action is by design. Means you want it to happen this way. And for anyone who knows in terms of design and religions, right, there's this thing called the designer's intervention or God's intervention, right? Which basically means that if you're sick, right, and I see you eat maybe char kway teow or fried chicken, 生病了还吃 fried chicken, right, then I'll intervene.
Yes.
And I think that's what good designers do. You intervene, right? So I like it. I think the name is quite interesting. Besides that, Patrick, what's your background as an interior designer? Are you versed in interior design? Are you trained as a designer?
Okay. Personally, I've been in this industry for the last 15 years. Actually, I start off in a very abrupt way, suddenly, because I used to be a chef.
Oh,
many years ago. I used to be a Japanese chef. So next time I can make sushi for you, definitely.
nice.
So but because of the long hour that I was actually experiencing being a chef, so actually I went on and I started doing sales, but it was in another industry. But just nice, 15 years ago, one of my friends approached me. He said he needed some help, in his own firm. So I say, why not? Let's just try out. Because during that time, I was like looking at, interior designer company, very chill. Every time wear nice, then go here and there, like very relaxed one. But when I got into this industry, it's totally different.
And it's also long hours.
It's also long. It's even longer.
Yeah.
And public holiday, Saturday, Sunday, we also have to work.
Nighttime also have to work.
Yes, correct. Then from there, actually, I took on the role as a project coordinator. So from there, I work on, then actually learn all the trade. But when I began, I actually learned a lot on doing commercial projects. That's how I learned. But of course, in between, there are some residential. Personally, I'm quite a hands-on person also. So it got my liking in this industry in a way that every time when I hand over on time, when I see the smile of homeowner, and it became like not just a client-based kind of thing. At the end of the day, we became friends. And we still meet up and we still chit chat. Of course, beside that, they still refer me a lot of jobs. That is why I actually caught on a passion in this industry. But of course, this company itself, I actually start running this company for the last 3 years. But the history of this company is actually since 1982. Wow. Okay, why do I say that? Okay, actually, this company was incorporated from my late father.
Oh.
So actually, I'm carrying on his legacy.
He was a renovator slash contractor.
Yes, he is those old school contractor where you do those concrete stove, this kind that in the 80s. Because the company is a HDB registered company, that is why I actually intended to just carry on and don't let this license go into waste. Yeah, because personally I also like this. What I'm doing for my homeowner and like what I'm doing for many years, even up to today. Yeah, I'm still very passionate. So I took on the role. Then I took over the company. I actually incorporate it and changed the name to Go Design. From then I just keep on running. Of course, in between I have worked in some others ID firm before also. But to me is people will always ask me, hey, since your dad is a contractor, why not you work with him and learn from him? Yeah, but for me personally, I understand that the market trend, this industry is always growing, is always improving. There's a lot of progression. So if I were to stay with him, I will always learn the old school stuff. I wouldn't be able to actually explore more ideas, all this. Of course, I did not go to any design school. A lot of stuff actually I pick up and I learn through, of course, online. I took up some short courses, this and that. But of course, in 2015, while I was working, I actually enrolled and I went to study construction engineering. Yeah, to get a little bit more on what's going on. Yeah, but for designing part, I think that is something that I'm someone that like to try out new things. So I'll always look around online here and there. Then of course I will go to site. I will also look at some other company what they are doing. So try to pick up and see how they do that. I try to explore. Yeah. So from there, then I will learn. Yeah. So I'm more like a self learner in a way. But tomorrow I'm going for a course. Yeah.
I know what.
Yeah. Tomorrow I'm going for a course.
Yeah, I do a bit of advertisement. So, in case you don't know, SIXiDER has actually partnered with Singapore Institute of Technology, where we actually curated 4 pillars of course. One of these is design, sustainability, contract laws, and project administration. So, Patrick is actually going to our design course.
Yes.
Part 1. So, there's 3 parts. So, every pillar there are 3 parts. So, in total there are 12 courses. So, looking forward to see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think in our SIXiDER language, right, you're known as a technical designer. What technical designer does is that they are technically sound, meaning that in your this 15 years experience as an interior design / renovator, you have experience hands-on through many projects. And you've learned how to deal with the problem. You've also seen how certain projects get executed and manifested, the challenges. So your background is not based on concepts, but rather on execution, which is important. We feel that, concept is only as good as delivery.
Yes.
Right? But delivery may be weak if you don't have a concept. So it's kind of important to have both, right? Where you get a concept is strong and delivery is strong. So I look forward to, you getting to that, 十全十美 kind of stage. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now let's get to the subject of today's podcast. And that's something that I think a lot of the people who are renovating right now would come into the industry and they would be thinking, how much am I going to spend? And many oftentimes when they go around asking their friends, relatives, the next person who have renovated, and you always arrive at the 30K range. Now, to kind of put things in context, I've been in the industry for about 30 over years. The first day I entered the industry, 30K has been floating around already. Until today, 30 years later, 30K is still floating around. So what gives, man? What is the reason why everybody always start around the 30K range? Like even for simple homes. Is there any?
Okay, I think one of the things is that because the houses that we have is always about the same size. I think that's one thing. Yeah, like the size of the bathroom, the size of the kitchen. Yeah, unless you're talking about like the older one and the new BTO type. Maybe there's a little bit different, but I think overall itself, the size is about there. Based on the square feet calculation, so that's why that it derived to around 30K. And just now, earlier when we were having discussion, I also mentioned that if you were to look around in the entire industry, yeah, especially in our industry, you can see most of the company, they are providing resale packages, all this. You can actually see that it's always around that range, like probably a little bit cheaper, 29 to 30 or maybe 31, 32. Yeah, why is that so? Because there is a standard market rate. Yeah, because there is only the amount of subcontractor or contractor that we're using, and everyone actually follows around
market
the
rate.
same market rate. Yeah, so that is why it's always around that range. Yeah, so the thing is that if you happen to see like people tell you suddenly, hey, everyone is 30K, suddenly there's someone that is 20K, oh, then I think that is a red flag. Yeah,
So what you're saying is that basically, first factor is that the typology of homes in terms of the size hasn't really changed that much,
yes.
especially since the last 30 years. All right, so that's point number one. Point number two is that there is a given market rate one. So very likely 30K can fetch you this X amount of works. And if you're talking about this same X amount of works, if someone else comes with the same X amount of works, but at a different price, much lower price or much higher price, then something is off somewhere. So that's what you're saying. Okay, fair enough. There is also this more mathematical approach to this, which is bank loans. At one stage, all banks in Singapore that are doing home renovation loans kept at 30,000 or 5 times the salary, whichever is lower. So then 30K becomes like the benchmark. But we all know in today's context, right? If we were to kind of look at rising costs of things, Trump's tariffs, for example, GST, 9% on a 30K, that's easily about 2,780. So is 30K still realistic?
At the range of 30K, actually you're doing something very basic. In the renovation itself, the main bulk will always be the masonry work and especially the carpentry work. Yeah, of course, if let's say you were to choose certain kind of tiles, probably from Europe tiles, this and that will actually increase the cost. So I would say 30K is still manageable in a way, but you have to expect that it's going to be a very basic kind of reno nowadays. Yeah, it's just like one bathroom. When we do out the entire bathroom, we remodel the entire bathroom. There is a certain price. It's around that range one. Yeah, you will never go wrong one. Yeah, because for me personally, whenever I sat down with a homeowner, sometimes after discussion, the very last question they will always ask, 多少钱? Right? This is the question they will always ask. So with all this in mind, like one bathroom roughly how much, this and that, then kitchen usually is how much, then with all the cabinets, actually it's quite easy to work out a budgetary from them. Yeah, of course it's not very detailed. Yeah, but of course you will give them first-hand ideas of what kind of budget they are looking at. But just now, like coming back to this question, yeah, 30K, very basic. Very basic, yeah.
So 30K will get you a baseline.
Yes.
And nothing too fancy. And I think the styles that are within 30K, Scandinavian, minimalist, a bit of Japanese. Cannot do classical.
Cannot.
Cannot do Peranakan.
No.
No. Yeah. So the more ornate, the more expensive.
Yes.
Okay. Then let's talk about the two types of homes that you have in Singapore, brand new and resale. Now, if I would say obviously 30K for brand new, not a problem. A baseline or maybe a little bit more depending on the size of your flat. And usually there shouldn't be hidden costs, right? Because brand new it's the resale, isn't it? 30K can do for resale or not?
Yes, actually 30K you will be good enough to cover a kitchen and a 2 toilet. And this is what actually the entire industry is actually providing right now.
The wet areas.
The wet areas lah. So of course it will also be able to include electrical works, but it really depends on how much electrical works you're doing, because like earlier we also mentioned that the cost of renovation, the labor, everything is always going up. Levy is also going up. Yeah, sometimes we see that maybe this worker from a certain country, when they come, the salary is not too high, but you have to include all the levies, their accommodation, the insurance, this kind of stuff. So actually, end of the day, probably they're earning more than us.
Yeah.
With their OT, they're earning more than us.
Yes.
So all these actually attribute to the cost of it. So it really depends on how you're doing. Maybe the kitchen cabinet, you can't do too long. The length, you actually have to cut short. Because for older houses like those HDB resale, some kitchen is very long. Yeah, the kitchen cabinet can go up to probably like 30, 40 feet kind of stuff. So over there, probably you have to cut down. Yeah, to try to manage within 30K.
It's almost like saying that when it's a BTO or brand new property, visually speaking, 30K for brand new, you can see things done. Right? You can see carpentry. 30K for a resale, especially the older the property, very likely by the time you're done with 30K, you still haven't seen much of the things.
Yes.
Because fundamentally speaking, in order to have new tiles, you need to hack the old tiles. When you hack, you actually won't see anything new to it, right? And then you're doing electrical, also something you won't see on. But it's important because HDB's recommendation is after 15 years, you should change your wiring.
Yes.
After 15 years, you should change your plumbing. So all these things, if you were to take into account, fundamentally, you get the place nicely ready for carpentry, for new wall feature, for new wardrobe. Before that, 30K already gone to establish all the fundamentals.
Around there, yes.
Yeah. So I think it's important because if you don't say that, then people will think that there are hidden costs. When in fact, these are not hidden costs. The reality is the older the property, the higher likelihood. But then no renovator can tell you the answer without assessing the site. Am I right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So is it fair that we keep seeing homeowners say that, hey, no, I don't want to see hidden costs. I don't want to see hidden costs. They tell you I don't want to see hidden costs. What would you say to them?
I wouldn't say that, tell them that there is a lot of hidden costs. But as much as possible during the consultation with them, I will always upfront tell them there are certain things that you need to look out for. I won't use the word hidden costs. Yeah, because customers are very, client, homeowner, they are very skeptical about this word hidden cost because they heard a lot of those horror stories about how the reno is 20K, then the hidden cost came up to another 20K kind of stuff. But of course, we have to preempt them, we have to let them understand that what they are getting with the amount of budget they actually incorporate into their renovation. So one of the questions I usually will ask homeowners is that what are their budget? Yeah, then I'll at the spot, on the spot itself, I will see whether is it realistic or not. Yeah, if it's not realistic, then I will also explain to them, hey, what are the things, this and that, you wanted this and that. Like just now you mentioned, like for the carpentry, you want classic, then after that, you want wind costing on all the walls, all this. It's not viable. So I think as a good idea, you have to be upfront with the homeowner. 不可以就是不可以的. Yeah, we cannot insist, just want to close them, then we tell them can. Then that is why homeowner always think that there's this hidden cost. Because ID will come behind and say, hey, actually you want to do this, or this is not included, this is not there. Yeah, of course, certain things like what they are always afraid of for hidden costs is like probably the electrical works. Yeah, so for me personally, even including all my IDs, I will always tell them that even at times when probably it's a bit hard to actually come out with the actual electrical work, the scope of works, but we have to let homeowner that, hey, what is the per point basis? At least they know what how much they are paying. It will not be like a market is selling like maybe $50, then suddenly because of it's not stated there, then we have to give them $80 per point. Yeah, then it's going to bring up a lot.
That means when you table your quotation, you will give them a menu lah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that means for electrical and plumbing, you will have a menu so they can see the per point.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, but so the design hasn't finalized, therefore you cannot finalize the number of points.
Yes.
So you give them the menu and then they 自己计算啦.
Before the quotation, we actually have some consultation. So roughly we know what kind of electrical work they want. Yeah, but of course, after we quoted them, we will always let them know that there might be changes based on site condition. Yeah, so that actually they are prepared. Yeah, still with that, we will also give them a list of the per point basis. Yeah, so that at least they know what they could get. I will always let them know that, hey, today, if let's say you are buying from me 10 items, okay, I will charge you for 10 items. But end of the day, maybe I charge you 10 items, but you will come to a point where at the end of the renovation, maybe you only did 8 items. So I will take away these 2 items. So it's very clear. Yeah, so that they will not feel that, hey, there's something hidden from them.
Okay, so I think just now you're talking about basically is omission. Right? And then with omission, there will be variation. Right? And variation seems to be like the dirty word of the industry. Omission, they're like, 没有听过. So omission is like what you say lah. Basically, you take out the item is not done. Right? You can put a provisional cost, but if it's not done, then 不算咯.
Yes.
But variation, when there's work to be done, 不算啦.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So that's how you basically deal with hidden costs. Right? But the thing is, the reality is, there are certain ID firms out there that basically have a lot of cut and paste when it comes to initial contract. And this is feedback on the ground because SIXiDER, we speak to a lot of homeowners. And sometimes they say that the contract doesn't seem to be reflecting the design of the home. Like they see the 3D, they see the layout plan, but the layout plan and the description on the contract doesn't seem to tally. And they ask us for advice, and then sometimes what I feel after I study their quotation, right, is I feel that it's cut and paste. Do you recognize this problem? Do you see this as a problem?
On the quotation itself, most of the homeowner, unless they have renovated a few times, most of them are laymen. So they are just reading words. So certain maybe terms or this they might not understand. And the thing is that sometimes they don't understand. They also didn't try to ask and try to understand. So that is how they will actually be caught in between when the things is not what they wanted. So I think one of the way to tackle this is how I usually also do is that when I prepare the quotation, I will also prepare a furniture layout. Yeah, of course I will not come up with the full 3D, this kind of stuff, because those really takes time. Yeah, and I know homeowner always wanted to see all this. Yeah, and I do understand that right now there are a lot of AI tools that we can do this, but actually it's not actual because to do a design, it takes time, it takes a lot of thoughts into doing it. Yeah, but I think easier way is to actually come up with a space planning plan for them. So then with the quotation, then sit down with them. Yeah, then to discuss, hey, this is where, this is how long is this, and what we are providing. On the other hand, also we can try to show them some of the materials that we are proposing. Of course, that will not be the final, but at least homeowner will have a gauge and they will actually know what they are getting. Yeah, rather than they just read through a full. Some people write a lot of words. Yeah, then it
But it's all jargon.
yeah,
People understand.
so like you say, like copy paste. Yeah, they write as much word as possible. And I think another thing is that very importantly, I think on quotation itself, we need to also indicate the size. I think that is very, very important. Yeah, like the length, the height, everything. Yeah, those are the things that homeowner always caught unaware. Like, hey, 我只是给你这么长. Yeah, but actually, what homeowner want, maybe he wanted 10 foot, but actually the quotation itself, then they say it's only 5 foot. Yeah, so this is where homeowner will always caught unaware. We have to try to be as detailed as possible while we are quoting, and like I say, having another reference of the furniture layout plans, yeah, to go through with them, which I think it will be much easier. But of course, there are a lot of times where homeowner will just say, hey, 你 just send 给我啦, just send 给我啦. They don't even bother to meet you. Yeah, because they are just trying to gather a lot of quotation as much as possible. You give them 10, they'll take 10. You give them 20, they'll take 20. End of the day, it become like just a pricing comparison. Then you don't know what you're getting. So that is why I think a lot of homeowners are caught in this kind of situation. Yeah, because they didn't really try to understand what they are getting and what the code is all about.
I think you mentioned about the floor plan part. And I think if I were to stand as a devil's advocate for the homeowners, I think the problem is even with the floor plan, they also wouldn't know how to read. So that's one problem. Sometimes they don't understand scaling, as in like some IDs they present it in A3, and when it's A3, they will scale out. Most likely 1:50, 1:75, and that's not a scale they're familiar with. 1:100 also won't know, right? And they don't have the scale ruler. The other thing is, of course, is most floor plans are not labeled in detail. I do have a suggestion, and it could be basically printing out gosong layouts and then basically using highlighter to highlight the different things. Maybe you can even label A1, A2, A3 for this furniture, that furniture. And then if they see the itemized quotation, A1 is what, A2 is what, and then they can relate. That's definitely going to help the homeowners. And I 100% agree with you that I think meeting out with the ID is not so much to be sold. And I think what you're also saying is that, especially for goal design, that meeting with the ID is to a certain extent, allow the ID to share their point of view why they do it this way. And there's a reason why it costs this much because this is from this point to this point. This is something that since the homeowners may not be able to understand judging from the plan nor the quotation. That's the only one time that the ID can actually spend time and explain in detail what's going on. So, I mean, that's good lah. That's important because if the ID don't even have the chance to participate in this process, you're left to your own to figure things out. And at the end of the day, how will you make a decision? You'll just see out of the 5 quote, who's the cheapest. Because you don't know design, you don't know jargon, you only know what you have in the bank or what you don't have in the bank. That's not the right way to make decision when it comes to renovating.
Yes.
I think the thing is, how then do you think Go Design can approach this if we were to challenge you and say, make the homeowner feel they are comfortable in investing in this education process? That means you are not selling, Go Design is not selling. Yes, a successful sale is a byproduct. if I do well in educating you, how would you approach this? How would you do things differently?
Whenever I meet up the homeowner to actually do the consultation with them, we will actually go right into the details, the gist of it. Yeah, what they actually wanted to achieve by really finding out what is their lifestyle. Yeah, it's not just about delivering something. Yeah, but delivering something that will last and delivering something that actually is could actually improve their lifestyle. So by saying that, totally agree what you mentioned earlier. I think it's very crucial. We have to have at least a sit down. Yeah, but not just a sit down with a 30-minute kind of talk. It should be a very lengthy talk. Yeah, because we are talking about the entire house, how we're going to do it, what they are getting, what's the length, what's the height. It will be best if, of course, there are right now a lot of them are using iPad. But for me, since 15 years ago, I'm a bit more old school in a way. I always like to sketch. Yeah, so on the spot itself, I always sketch for them on hand, like how the cabinet will look like, how is it going to be like. So at least you give the homeowner a much clearer expectation. Yeah, what they're getting. Of course, end of the day, they will still choose probably based on design or other factors like probably the cost, this kind of thing. But I think for every ID is still very, very much important. Yeah, that you have to get the homeowner out. Yeah, if the homeowner do not even want to really meet you to discuss for a project which probably costs about 50K, I think I think you don't have to spend so much time on that, because doing a project, I always tell it is like a husband and wife thing. Yeah, because we will meet each other probably months before. Then after we took the key, then after material selection, this kind of stuff. So after we execute the work, probably you take another 1 or up to 3 months. It's not just the idea. I think homeowner also have to make initiative. Yeah, together with the ID. Yeah, to work together.
But I think the homeowner's perspective, I mean, don't get me wrong, if you are in the market or may not be in the market of insurance, for example, right? Someone say wants to meet up with you, there is some defense mechanism one. Because at the end of the day, if you are on the lookout for that specific item, then maybe, you're very ready to have the meetings. But if you're not, and you have that very thick layer of defense mechanism, you're just going through this first process. Let's qualify first. Let's decide whether if it's even worth the visit for both you and I. And I think it's important also, you don't want to be meeting a lot of people who want to waste your time as well. But I think that's really where I'm asking that very profound question is that if you from Go Design, Patrick from Go Design wants to say, I can make you qualify faster, what would be your go-to method to make them qualify you? Like, what do you think Go Design has that's different from the rest of the competition?
One of our company motto is definitely integrity. Yeah, that is something that which I have very value since when my dad was doing. I learned a lot from him for this. So I instill this to all my IDs. What we actually stand out from others, we will always provide a whole turnkey solution. Yeah, we do not just stop at a certain process. And I think one of the very important thing is that we always make ourselves contactable. I think uncontactable is one of the things that most homeowners is always afraid of. I cannot find my ID, this and that. Yeah, so I think very importantly is as a company level is how we actually train all our IDs, to be responsive. Yeah, even though probably things are not done correctly, or maybe there are some defects, this and that, which is normal in our industry. Yes, but we have to always be there to come up with solution, because we are a solution provider. We will always try to be upfront with the homeowner. Yeah, we will always tell them whether it's on the phone or sometimes we do it on Zoom in terms of costing instead of what we're going to deliver. Yeah, instead of our service. But of course, some people will tell me that service is only after they engage us, then they will know our service. Yeah, because everyone will say that, my service is good, my service is the best. Yeah, and I will never say that, I'm the best in the entire market. I will never be the best. There are always people better than me. Yeah, so but for as much as possible, we keep to our company vision. Yeah, to actually instill integrity in everything that we do.
Give me a case study or a story about how this integrity play a part in your business.
Many people have heard a lot those horror stories. It actually happened on myself also.
Wow.
It actually happened in my company also. Because sometimes we couldn't control what some other people are doing outside. As much as possible, we do not want things to happen.
So
But
this is a staff lah.
yeah, the stuff. Yeah, but sometimes things happens. Probably they did something wrong here and there. Then they try to become irresponsible. This kind of stuff. So I think for me myself, okay, I will be the first point of contact, because for me, I will always give people my personal handphone number. Yeah, I will not just give them a company number. Yeah, because I want to make myself contactable. So the homeowner came to me. Yeah, I spoke to the homeowner. So what happened was that this guy actually went on to get the homeowner by trying to instill them to transfer the amount to them.
Put things in context. The staff, hanky-panky lah.
Yes.
Ask the homeowner, instead of make payment to the company, pay to the staff instead.
Yes.
Okay. That's a breach of trust, criminal breach of trust.
Yes, it is a criminal breach. Of course, I make the police report. Yeah, and I think that the guy was prosecuted in a way, but of course, I did not go in depth. I just make my police report of what's going on. At the very moment when I found out about this, straight away I called the homeowner, try to find out the entire story, what's going on. Of course, it's not a very huge amount. Yeah, probably a couple of thousand. First thing I'll do is that I tell homeowner, hey, what can I do for you?
How did it escape? Because typically, renovations like that, you would give them a contract, they sign, they make payment to the company. Under what kind of circumstance would the homeowner be making money directly to the culprit, the criminal?
Probably they will always use this kind of scam or this kind of lie to say that, hey, if you go through me, yeah, you can get a group buy kind of price. You will be cheaper, this and that. Most people, they always want a cheaper price. Yeah, that's how they actually caught in. But of course, to us, in our contract, in our quotation, actually, we state down very clearly that every payment is to make to the company only. Yeah, do not make any payment to any of the salesperson, yeah, or ID or whoever. Yeah, so we make it very clear. But of course, sometimes homeowner, they didn't read all this. Yeah, they just read the amount and they sign. Earlier, we also mentioned sometimes it's emotional. Yeah, they cannot think rationally. So they feel, hey, I'm very comfortable with this guy. I don't think this guy will cheat me. I think this guy is going to help me. Yeah, so that's how they are being actually. So they were like, they have a plan one. They will do step by step to lure that homeowner in to actually transfer the money to them. I mean, not just on my company. I know a lot of people in this industry. So many of them told me a lot of stories. Actually, it's almost the same thing. Yeah, how they actually build trust, they build rapport, they build relationship with the homeowner, go visit them, very caring, this and that. Then after that, that's how they lure them into
pattern
doing that. Yeah, pattern all come out. Once I found out, I asked the homeowner, what can I do for you? So the homeowner actually say that there's certain thing that is not done, but money is being paid, this and that. So I say, no problem, I will finish out everything for you. Yeah, but
FOC.
FOC, yeah.
Wow.
FOC. Yeah, it's a couple of thousand. It's not a very huge amount. Yeah, but I think it's not about the amount. It's about the integrity. Yeah, because principle. Because homeowner engages because of our company. Yeah, of course because of the ID also. But the ID hanky panky. But ID is actually representing my company, so I have to make good to it. Yeah, no matter how big the amount is. Of course, it must be justifiable. Whether is it providing the finish up the reno or maybe refund the money that they have paid. Yeah, so this one would be out of the company.
And that's why, right, I think it really, it's a message to homeowners. It's important to understand that payment should always be made to the company, and ideally you're paying via in UEN if you're doing pay now and all that, and not to an account number, because even account number can fake.
Yes.
Right, you can say it's account number, but you put a different company name to that. And in your case, right, the client's actually lucky that to have met with an ID firm that has, principles. Sometimes there may be firms that say that, no, at the end of the day, the money didn't flow through me. We don't have any representation. I don't have to honor anything. And then you will be the one suffering really. I won't even say that this is 捡便宜 or not. Really, sometimes it's just the relationship. The ID and you talk. And I think the conversation we had earlier was that many times when people, especially when it comes to home, make decisions for home, right, they may be more emotional than being logical, because the allure of how the home will look like, right, it excites them. It's a pet passion project, and so they may 感情用事咯, right? Or if the salesperson or the ID is very eloquent, very charismatic, and then they'll say that, yeah, sure, why not, right? You help me save money, you're doing me a favor, thank you, I'll transfer to you now. And then this kind of thing happens. People capitalize on 那个人心, 那个好心, 变得害了你. Yeah, so I don't think it's worth it lah. Renovation is not a small ticket item. It's quite a big ticket item.
Yes.
Yeah. So it pays to be precautions. Yeah. Now, I want to come back to the 30K budget thingy. This reality of 30K in this day and age, right, is a bit tough to meet. Would you say that it is almost unrealistic right now, given that the trend right now, people are looking at, naive phone they want to use even the micro cement 30K realistic or not? Given today's trend
People like to do nowadays like the wabi-sabi, chopandi, this kind of stuff, which a lot of micro cement, lime wash. Yeah, it's not realistic. Yeah, because all these are very dependent on very skilled worker to do all this. Yeah, material itself is expensive, and the application method is something very different. It's not just like painting, this kind of stuff. So the cost will definitely be high. Earlier, we also mentioned about new houses and old houses. Just recently, I just screened a deal also for a 4-room BTO, lower than 30K. But because like earlier mentioned, it's very basic. Yeah, because this homeowner come down, sat down, first thing tell me, Patrick, 我已经搬3次到4次家了，我要很简单。This kind of stuff. But of course, nowadays, most of the homeowners, they have ideas what they want, because they always look at Lemonade, Xiaohongshu, TikTok, this kind. They get a lot of inspiration. So they want everything. Yeah. So 30K might not be as realistic as before in a way. Of course, even for new houses, we also have to see whether is it BTO premium or BTO standard. Yeah, if it's standard, definitely that one's definitely not enough, because they have to do all the tilings, or whether tiling or even do up vinyl. Yeah, so it really depends. But like you mentioned, is it realistic? Very hard nowadays. Yeah, especially with the trend. Yeah, what people want, then and things that now people always want curve, rounded edge, this and that. Yeah, all this
考功夫.
Yeah, it takes effort to do, especially for the carpentry, especially for like any round edges. Sometimes you say, 只是一个圆来，为什么这么多贵这么多? But to do straight, maybe I just need like probably an hour. But to do one round, maybe I need 1-2 days, because I need to cramp it to make sure that the shape cannot stay
in the form.
Stay in the form. Yeah, so that you will not like after delivered, then after that the thing actually came back to the shape. Yeah, so
uncurled.
Yeah, so 时间就是金钱. Yeah. So this kind of thing, I think it will be good that homeowner also try to find out about all these details as an responsible ID also. Yeah, it is always good to let homeowner know, hey, why is this thing costing a bit more? Yeah, why is it not realistic? Yeah, anymore. Yeah, because I have homeowner that wanted to do a 5-room flat, redo the whole house, remodel the whole house. I asked, what is your budget? He told me 40K. I was like, Earlier we also mentioned that it's a standard market rate. Yeah, like 3-room usually redo how much? 4-room, 5-room. Yeah. So straight away I tell the homeowner, sorry, 40K, we can't do much. We can't do much. And the homeowner actually, after go one round, came back to me, Patrick, yeah, right.
It is what it is. Okay, so I think, again, in the issue of realism, whether the 30K is realistic or not, let's talk about maybe the elder folks. Every now and then we will get the silver gen who want to renovate their house. It could be a scenario whereby kids grown up, then they are leaving the home, and they've never renovated for like decades, right? Or they downgrade, they move from one place to another place. And most of the time, it's almost like a resale condition, right? It's either they're staying in resale or they buy another resale, smaller. And their goal actually is, they keep saying that, hey, I want something very simple because I already, I don't want to clean so much. And they will think that because the last time around they spent 30K, 20 years ago, it's substantial. 30K today is not as substantial as we all agree. But they will still have that mindset. And more importantly, because they are the last leg of their lives, they are also thinking of this as a, 棺材本 to a certain extent. How do you deal with this kind of scenario? I ask this in the question is that, in the best interest, we're talking about integrity here, but in the best interest of the homeowner, and maybe they're not as aesthetic hungry as younger homeowners, but what is a fair 30K deal for them? What's important for elder proofing and stuff like that? Yeah.
Okay, for elderly, of course, I totally agree. 30K years ago, and now now kopi o kosong was already 140. Then kopi o kosong ice 250. I don't know how come the ice is like $1. It's very different. It's very different. Of course, I totally agree. And like probably the elderly is already at their last leg of their life. Yeah, maybe this is going to be the final one they're going to do. I think very importantly is that we have to also sit down and also to actually go through with the elderly folks, to go through with them like 30K, what they're going to get, and how can we actually, I won't say compromise, I won't use this word compromise, but how can we actually lower down the cost probably in some of the construction itself. Yeah, then like I mentioned earlier, more importantly is that we have to find out what is their lifestyle, especially for elderly folks. Their lifestyle is more or less fixed already. Yeah, not like new houses, new homeowner, they are trying to adapt new lifestyle, this kind of that. So more or less, actually, you know what they need and what they don't need. Yeah, because they have not done any renovation for a long period of time, so they don't know what is going on, which actually I encountered before. Recently, I did a three room. It's a BTO. It's an elderly folks, husband and wife. Okay, they actually staying in a 5-room flat. Okay, in Tampines. Then downgrade. Then they went to Tengah. Yeah, they were actually recommended by someone. So I sat down with them at one of the place, the first initial meeting. So first thing I asked them, what is your plan for this house? Yeah, what do you intend to do? And but of course I will tell them I believe this is going to be your final house. You're going to stay here all the way already. Yeah, you're not going to change anymore. Yeah, then of course we also try to find out like who are the people staying in this house beside you and your husband. Maybe they have a son, a kid, which
maybe
actually
grandkids will come over the weekend.
Yeah. Then with all this information, then we will actually come up with a proposal for them. Yeah, what to expect? Of course, same thing on the spot itself. I will ask them, what is the comfortable budget that you are planning for this? Yeah. Then even for some other houses, it's the same thing. I will always first question. Some of the question that I will ask homeowner is that, what is your plan for this house? Are you going to just stay here for 5 years, or are you going to stay for 5 years after that you're going to rent out? Or
Flip.
are you going to flip, or maybe you're going to stay for like maybe another 15, 20 years. So all this will actually define what I want to propose for you. Whether should we do a bit more because you're staying here for a longer period, or if let's say this is just going to be like another 5 years. So a lot of things we can actually minus off. We don't have to do it. Yeah, but of course they have their ideas. But we, as an ID, we have to let them know. We have to also not just take care of the now thing. We have to take care in the future also. Yeah, we have to also plan for them. Because sometimes they will say, hey, I want to hack down this wall. I don't want this wall. I don't want that wall. The elderly will also tell me, 这个墙我不要，我们可以敲掉吗? So I will ask them, what's the purpose? Why do you need to hack down this wall? Yeah, does this serve any purpose or help in your lifestyle or not? While you're staying here for the rest of your life. Yeah, if it doesn't, then we don't have to do it.
Save the money.
Yeah, save the money. Yeah, but of course, some people will say, 做 okay, 可以这个敲那个敲. Yeah, then after that, wow, the budget came up.
I agree with you. I think there's a lot of emphasis on what you're saying in weightage in your consultation. I think you're being very responsible by saying first thing is really understand where they're coming from and how long they intend to stay and the usage, right? It's very important because just now I think you mentioned something very critical. I said they're staying longer, then all sorts of possibility will happen. And I think the consultation is where the true value of what your company does. The consultation is where you get all these data from the customer and you start to think and plan.
As a company point of view, okay, we do not just want to do a design and just renovate a house, but we want to care a bit more on their lifestyle. Like earlier I mentioned, it's not just the now. We have to really think a bit further for them. If you would tell me, okay, hey Patrick, I wanted to stay in this house for 5 years. The next 5 years I'm going to rent out, but I want to hack down this wall, that I just want to have a very big master bedroom. But the thing is that once you tell me that after 5 years you want to rent out, so if you were to do this, okay, the pool of people that wanted to rent, especially for families, they will not want to rent this house because not enough
small market.
Yeah, not enough room. It became smaller. Yeah, so this is how we actually came in. How Go Design come in, not just renovate and design their house, but to actually plan for them. Yeah, people will tell us, hey, maybe we are like an insurance agent. We plan for their future retirement, this kind of stuff. So because different age group have different needs, then we also always try to find out that whether the things that they want to do is a need or a want. If it's a want, but because of this want, it bursts your budget, then we can actually forego this one. Yeah, but of course we will explain to them why this is not necessary. Yeah, why you don't have to do this. Maybe you really wanted it, but actually you don't need now. Yeah, but we will incorporate the design in a way that maybe in the later days, you want to add on, it is still possible. So at least we also do some planning for them. Yeah, so this is how we come in. We really take care of the now and the future for them.
What about, like, since we're talking about the old folks, right?
Yes.
And anything can happen in the next few months or even a few years. Does Go Design take a special interest when it comes to like future proofing, when it comes to designing for elderly?
For elderly, I think one of the most important thing, especially, is the bathroom. Like earlier you mentioned, probably in years or two, or we never know, maybe they'll be wheelchair bound. So we have to make sure that the door width is wide enough for those kind of houses. Usually, we will not recommend to do things like shower screen, this kind of stuff, because it's very hard for them.
Bifold door.
Yeah, I mean it's nice lah. Of course, it's nice, but it's not practical for them. Yeah, because at their age, we don't know when that they will be wheelchair bound. Of course, for the RAM, all these are quite simple. Actually, the HDB also help out with all this to provide all this RAM for them. Yeah, but I think internally itself, when we remodel the entire bathroom, we have to make sure that it's in a way foolproof for them lah. Easy for them to use, so that even when they wheelchair have to go in, yeah, or maybe we need to have extra walls for them to actually install those kind of affordable bench for them to sit down,
Grab
to shower,
bars.
grab bar, this kind of stuff. Yeah, so this one during the consultation we will always go through with them. Yeah, but I think more important is that we have to go to the site to assess the site. Yeah, whether what kind of design we can incorporate. Like earlier we mentioned, not just the now, it's really the future to help them.
Yeah, I think that's very important. I mean, not enough design practices care about this much. I mean, designing with the intention to meet budget is one challenge that designers have to do. Designing to meet certain design styles also one challenge. But I think designing with purpose, designing for function, usually goes under the radar. I think the market right now has a lot of situation whereby if the renovation can complete on time, complete within budget, 已经谢天谢地了. And they're not even thinking about like, wow, you got future proof for me. You got future proof for me for my next 5 years or 10 years or the remaining years of my life. Think we can do better lah. I think as a interior design industry, we can do better.
Yes, agree.
Okay. I think we've really learned a lot about Go Design and Patrick. And I really must thank you for, answering that very awkward question when it comes to like the challenge of integrity, especially sharing that story of how a errant salesman actually went behind the company's back and then did something, but you came in responsibly to save the day. So thank you for that. We cannot guarantee that this kind of things won't happen, but it helps that there's a responsible leadership behind it. Yeah, more companies should be like this. Okay, we've come to the end of our segment, but like many of our episodes, right, before we end, we always give an interesting questions for the homeowners to understand more about Patrick, as not just as a designer, but also as a person and how he thinks. So this was a question left by another fellow designer, and his question was, would you rather never have something that you always wanted or have a chance to own it and then lose it? Yeah.
I think this is the toughest question.
It's profound. Wow.
It's very profound.
It's profound. Yeah.
Wow, whoever left this question, thank you very much.
You can return the favor to someone else.
I rather not have it lah.
Rather
not have it lah. Why? I'm a person not so materialistic, kind of stuff. Of course, I have my interest in certain things like watches, things like this and that, this kind of stuff. Whatever I can have is what I can have. I will go extra mile for my homeowner, but I won't go extra mile for myself.
Oh.
Yeah, in a way, yeah, because 我是一个比较脚踏实地的人. Yeah, so I do not go for fame. I do not go for anything. Yeah, I just want to do my thing responsibly. Because to me, it's like 是我的就是我的，不是我的终究不是我的。
But you know what this is saying, right? This is actually saying like 不在乎天长地久，
只在乎曾经拥有。
But what you're saying is 不在乎天长地久，只在乎曾经没有。Yeah. So meaning that in the sense that if you never have it, then you don't feel the pain of not losing it. Rather not have the pain of losing it. But in the sense that that's romantic. Another saying is 把曾经拥有化成天长地久. No right, no wrong. Yeah. If you ask me, nobody asked me, so I asked this question. I would really be 把曾经拥有化成天长地久. I think for me, my life is I always like to have a chance to experience something. Then experience it, then that kind of like increases my vocabulary in life. Then I think that's how I would want to experience it. Yeah. So, but yeah, you do you, I do me. We are all unique in that sense. Yeah. So thank you so much, Patrick. Again, thank you so much for sharing with us your view on this, as well as the integrity related issue with an errant stuff that you used to have. And hopefully it doesn't happen again. Yeah. So thank you for joining us in this episode of the SIXiDER Show, and we look forward to having you guys again next week. Thank you and
you.
goodbye.
Bye.